I don't really know what to advise you on a question like this. For some of you, this is just obvious, but there's an obvious trap to me as well that I totally get why people would fall for. Um, so I'm going to say that your strategy here is show your work. This is a question where, yeah, you could probably answer it pretty confidently without putting anything on the page. But we're pretty deep in the section, 28 out of 30 multiple choice. This is supposed to be hard, so we should expect there to be some sort of trap. And I think that the reason people get it wrong is they go too fast. So let's look at the equation. We would try to want to dissect what this equation is composed of because they're asking about this part in particular, this 60p. And that's weird. Because that's not just one thing, right? That's two things. We're told what P is, right? P is the tons of paper. So, okay, at least we understand part of it. It's 60 times the tons of paper that they collect. And somehow that's giving us this 315, which is the cost, right? So we understand that the result is in the units of money. So tons is not money, right? So my guess would be in order to make this into money, that the 60 would also have to be money. And that's going to help us sort through these answers. Let's take a look at them. The total weight in tons of paper the club recycled. Well, no. First of all, because that's not money, right? The unit for that is tons. But also that is what they told us P by itself is equal to. So this is not a good choice to pick because they literally told you what the total number of tons is represented by. It's represented by P. The 60, we got to factor that in somehow. So we're missing something here. B, the total amount in dollars the club is paid for each ton of paper recycled. I think this is the trap. I think this is what most people are going to pick if they're moving too fast. And if you picked this, I'd be curious if you actually ended up reading C and D, or if you were just so confident you were right that you picked B and didn't even bother to read C and D. I think that happens a lot. The problem is that this, even though it's talking about dollars, so we're in a good place, it's talking about the amount they're paid for each ton of paper recycled. But if you start plugging numbers into P, you'd see that that doesn't make any sense, because if you plugged in 1 for P, right, then it would be 60. So $60 for each ton. But if you plugged in 2, right, if there were 2 tons, then 2 times 60 is 120, so it's 120 for each ton. So what I'm saying here is that the rate would change if you plugged in different amounts for P, but it shouldn't be that way. The rate should be constant. So the problem here is that choice B is part of this. Choice B is the 60. 60 is the rate per ton. So it's very tempting because that's usually what they ask for. They ask for this one component, not the 2 components together. So B is a trap. C, the total weight in tons of all the aluminum cans and paper the club recycled, well, no, because we know that the C is its own thing, and that's not included in 60p. So this hopefully is also kind of like, just doesn't even match what we read. And that brings us to D, which is the answer. The total amount in dollars the club is paid for P tons of paper recycled. So if they recycled 3 tons, then it would be 60 times the 3, so $180, right? That's the total. And that makes perfect sense because that's how these kinds of coefficients and multiplication situations usually work, right? Is you have a rate, that's the coefficient, the 60 in this case, and then we multiply that by however much of the thing we have, and that gets us the total for that thing, right? So in this case, it's just odd because the SAT doesn't often ask for like this entire term. They're curious what the variable represents, or they're curious what the number represents, but they're rarely kind of mixing all this stuff together. And so if you got this wrong because you picked choice B, I bet it's because you were just like off your game. You weren't looking out for the twist. But we know, question 28 out of 30, there's going to be twists. So showing your work helps you avoid them by kind of hopefully narrowing your focus to the right stuff that matters, to notice the little subtle things that they're doing. But it also has the benefit of slowing you down. I know it's counterintuitive, but you want to go slowly through some of these hard questions because the chance of an error is so much higher. And they're deliberately designing these questions to take advantage of people who move too quickly and who jump to conclusions. So you want to adjust your strategy, your pacing strategy, so that you have time to prove your answers on as many of the hard ones as possible. If you're really short on time, yeah, you're going to have to make some quick guesses and stuff, but if you've got the time, you shouldn't be speeding through these. You should be really focusing on getting each point and proving it as best you can, even when it does seem like an abstract question like this. Show your work. It helps.